Jay here. Today's beer review will be on. That is a really different kind of hop experience. You probably should try this once. Alright, today's beer review will be on Hoppin' Frog's Fresh Frog Raw Hop Imperial Pale Ale. Wow, that's a mouthful. This beer has an 87 score from Beer Advocate. It clocks in at a 7.8 ABV with 45 IBUs. It's brewed in Akron, Ohio. Anyway, that's the basics on it. I'm really excited to try this beer today. This beer is brewed with fresh hops. Now, most beers, and any beer I've ever made or drank, are brewed with dried hops. They're not picked straight from the vine and thrown in the boiling kettle. They go through a drying process. They may be whole or they may be pelletized, but they're still dry. This beer is brewed with fresh hops, straight off the vine, still wet, loaded with all their pollen and everything else that hasn't blown away yet. I'm really curious to find out what kind of difference that makes in the hop character of a beer. So, that being said, let's crack this one open, see how good it is. Uh-oh, overdid it there a little bit. Anyway, there she is. Lots and lots of carbonation. I don't know if you can see that, but I mean, there is a ton of it in there. And it poured to, about a 2-inch head, slightly coming out of the glass, but holding on nicely. It's definitely not dissipating. There's a multitude of different bubble sizes in there. I'm going to imagine that it's going to lace very well along the glass. Alright, this is one heavily carbonated beer. Took a long time for that head to settle down, but it finally did settle. It's got a nice lacing to it. That head really wants to stick to the glass. Wherever the beer goes, it stays. So a whole lot of lacing going on there. Like I said, this beer's made with fresh hops. Let's give it a smell, see if there's anything we notice off the front there. You can smell a little bit of hops, but not as much as you would expect. And it almost has a slightly different kind of hop smell to it. It actually, if you've grown hops or ever been around them, it actually smells more like raw hops. No, there's a lot of caramel note there too, though, and then that's kind of hiding the hops. It's definitely not a lot of aroma kind of hop note in there. Let's see how it is. Well, that's really interesting. It's bitter. It's definitely on the bitter side, and for as low as of an IBU as it has for a 7.8% beer, you wouldn't expect it to be that bitter off the front. And it also has almost a very grassy kind of vegetable kind of taste there, and it's really thick in the mouth. It's smooth, but it's a little syrupy, a little thick. That is a really different kind of hop experience. I mean, the bittering is about the same, but there's a different flavor there. And the only thing you could attribute it to is the fact that it's a raw hop. Like when they're dried, that there's something that becomes missing out of the hop, and it's really interesting. That being said, it's out of the norm. I'm not sure for sessionability how many of these I would actually like to have. It's an odd flavor. Not that it's bad. It could take some getting used to, though. And I think before I give this beer any kind of rating, I'm going to finish this one off, pour out the rest of the bottle. It's a 22 ouncer, and come back with some good thoughts on it. As I sit here and drink this, pondering over what kind of rating I'm going to give it and whether or not I would continue to enjoy this beer, because this is really, it's interesting, it's odd, it's different. Every time I put my nose in a glass to take a drink, now that it's down this far, you get hit with this odd smell, and it's a hop smell, but it's grassy and different than the hop smell that you're used to, and that flavor is there too, and that's what making this beer very, very hard to rate. Definitely should put this beer on your, yeah, if I ever see that, I'm going to try it, because it is that different and unique. All right, we're back. I think I got some good answers for you, and I'll try to explain them the best way I can. For my sessionability on this, and this is going to sound horrible, but don't think it in that way, I am going to give this beer a 2-pack for sessionability. Two reasons there, and I'm talking 12-ounce servings, not 22-ounce bottles. It's a little thick and syrupy for extended drinking sessions. It's also strong at 7.8. I think 2 of these, you're going to start to feel pretty good. That being said, the raw hop note, you start to get used to it, and you start to kind of enjoy it. But I think after 2 of these, you're going to want to go back to the dried hops. There's a note in there that's just so unfamiliar. I mean, I'm having a hard time describing it. It kind of tastes like fresh cut something. I want to say grass clippings, but that sounds nasty. And it's not nasty, but I really can't come up with a better way to describe the odd hop note that's in there. After 2 of these glasses, you're just going to be like, I want to go back to the old way. I'm just not prepared to stay with the new. So for someplace to get fresh hops that aren't dried, to be able to brew a batch, I mean, that's some effort there. And so for our overall rating, I would love to give this beer a 6. Just because they did something so unique and original. I mean, I've never heard of another beer that's using fresh hops. And I got to give them props for coming up with something that unique. I mean, it's a simple idea, but it made a wonderful beer. But I'm going to give it a 5. I don't really want to just give you an extra point because you came up with something new. I'm just not comfortable giving it a 6. I would like to, for originality, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to give it a 5 for its overall, a 5-pack rating, and a 2-pack for sessionability. The other thing about the sessionability, you may very well go back after you've had another 2 beers or so and have 1 more of these. When best to enjoy it, I would say by itself. It's got a unique enough flavor profile to it. I really wouldn't want to spoil that experience with anything else. So, that being said, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great night. On a side note, you probably should try this once.